The massive chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as the young researcher stepped up to the floating platform. The circular room, with its towering crystalline walls that stretched hundreds of meters high, held representatives from over 3,000 species. Today, every seat was filled. The researcher, a tall blue crest named Senior Analyst Dale, clutched his data pad tightly. His feathers rustled with nervous energy as he faced the High Council members. The 5 ancient beings looked down at him from their elevated positions, their expressions unreadable. "Honorable Council," Dale began, his voice steady despite his nerves. "I present findings from Research Station 7 regarding the newly discovered species from the Sol system." A quiet murmur spread through the chamber. Everyone had heard rumors about this new species, the humans. "According to our standard classification system," Dale continued, "their home planet, Earth, registers as a Class 12 Deathworld." The chamber erupted in laughter. Even some of the High Council members let out amused chirps and whistles. First Speaker James, the oldest among the council, raised a hand for silence. "Young one, there must be an error in your measurements. No sentient species can evolve on a Class 12 world. The conditions are too extreme." Dale took a deep breath. "There is no error, First Speaker. Earth has crushing gravity at 9.8 meters per second squared. The temperature range spans from below freezing to heat that would cook most species. The atmosphere contains corrosive oxygen at levels that would poison 90% of known civilizations." He paused, tapping his datapad. A holographic image of Earth appeared above the platform, spinning slowly to show weather patterns. "The planet experiences regular natural disasters. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, massive storms called hurricanes, and something humans called tornadoes, violent wind formations that can lift buildings off the ground." The council members leaned forward, their amusement fading. "But surely no intelligent life could." Second Speaker Wilson began. Dale interrupted, earning shocked gasps from the audience. "The humans don't just survive there, honored speakers. They thrive. They build cities in earthquake zones. They live near active volcanoes. They chase storms for scientific research. And most remarkably," he clicked his datapad again. The hologram changed to show human athletic competitions, runners sprinting for hours, swimmers crossing vast oceans, climbers scaling frozen mountains without breathing equipment. They do these things for entertainment. The chamber had grown so quiet that Dale could hear the soft hum of the anti-gravity platforms. "There's more," he said. "When our first contact team arrived 6 months ago, we found they had already split the atom, begun terraforming their nearest planetary neighbor, and developed theoretical models for faster-than-light travel that our scientists confirmed could work." First Speaker James's usual blue color had faded to a pale gray. How many of them are there?" 8 billion, First Speaker, and they're running out of room." The silence broke. Panic spread through the chamber as representatives realized the implications. A species that considered a death world comfortable would find most of the galaxy's dangerous planets perfectly habitable. "We have a request for entry," Dale said, raising his voice above the chaos. "Their first ambassador awaits outside this chamber. His name is Ambassador Reed. He wishes to present humanity's formal petition to join the Galactic Council." First Speaker James looked at his fellow council members, who all showed signs of distress. "Did this ambassador arrive in one of our transport vessels?" "No, First Speaker," Dale replied. "He flew here himself, in what they call a standard civilian shuttle. According to his pilot's log, he stopped only once for what he termed a coffee break." The council chamber doors slid open. In the entrance stood a simple-looking being, barely 2 meters tall, with no obvious defensive capabilities. He wore what humans called a suit and carried a small briefcase. Ambassador Reed smiled at the assembled aliens. In that smile, the council members saw the confident expression of a species that had conquered a world that should have killed them and was now ready to step out into the galaxy. The humans had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months earlier, Earth's first contact site. The alien survey ship hovered above the meeting point, a simple concrete landing pad in the middle of a grassy field. Captain Moore of the contact assessment team stared through his advanced sensors at the human delegation below. His team had expected panic, chaos, or at least some military response when they revealed themselves to Earth. Instead, they got a polite message asking them to land at these coordinates. Most unusual, Moore said to his science officer. No weapons pointed at us. No defensive shields. They're just waiting. The humans had set up what looked like a small welcome party. There was a table with drinks and food, some chairs, and a few parked vehicles. It seemed suspiciously casual. As the alien ship landed, Moore's team ran final checks on their protective suits. Earth's oxygen levels and gravity would be dangerous for their species. The outer door opened with a soft hiss, and Moore led his team down the ramp. A human stepped forward from the greeting party. "Welcome to Earth," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Military Advisor Thompson. We've been expecting you." Moore's translator took a moment to process the words. "You expected us." Thompson smiled. "Well, not you specifically, but we've been watching for signs of alien life for decades. We even sent out messages. Did you not get them?" Messages? Moore's protective suit felt suddenly too tight. "You mean the radio signals?" "Among other things." Thompson gestured to the table. "Would you like some refreshments? We've prepared some solutions that should be safe for your biology." Moore's science officer was frantically checking readings on her device. "Captain," she whispered, "they've adapted the landing pad's material composition to support our ship's specific weight distribution." "Impossible," Moore said. "We didn't send them our specifications." "No," Thompson said, his smile widening. "We figured it out from your deceleration pattern as you entered our atmosphere. Simple physics, really. Would you like to see our research facilities?" The next few hours shattered every assumption Moore's team had made about this primitive species. The humans casually showed them laboratories where they were already experimenting with artificial gravity. They displayed prototype designs for faster-than-light drives that, while not yet built, were theoretically sound. But it was the physical demonstration that truly shocked them. "This is our basic training course," Thompson said, leading them to what looked like an obstacle course. "Nothing special. Every recruit goes through it." Moore watched in horror as human soldiers ran through what appeared to be a torture chamber. They climbed ropes against crushing gravity, crawled under electric wires, jumped over walls, and carried heavy loads through water and mud. "They do this voluntarily?" Moore's medical officer asked, checking his instruments. "Their hearts are beating at rates that would kill most species." Thompson shrugged. "This is just the morning warm-up. Would you like to see the advanced course?" "No," all the aliens said together. Later, in what the humans called a coffee break, involving drinking a stimulant that would be lethal to most galactic species, Thompson revealed the most disturbing news. "We're actually glad you arrived now," he said, sipping his coffee. "We were about to start our first major off-world colonization effort. Having contact with an advanced civilization will make things much easier." Colonization. Moore nearly dropped his datapad. "But your nearest planetary neighbor is a hostile wasteland." "Mars," Thompson laughed. "That's just a challenge. We've already got small research bases there. The terraforming process is ahead of schedule, though some of our people think we should leave it as is. Good training environment, they say." As Moore's team prepared to leave Earth that day, they knew they had to warn the Council. These humans weren't just surviving on a Deathworld. They were looking for more of them. And judging by what they'd seen, the humans wouldn't just survive out there in the galaxy. They would thrive. "Fascinating species," Thompson said, watching the alien ship depart. He took another sip of coffee and made a note to speed up the Mars colonization project. The galaxy had just gotten a lot more interesting. The Galactic Council's evaluation team stepped out of their heavily shielded shuttle into what humans called a mild spring day in New York City. Team leader Adams, covered in protective gear that made him look like a walking life support system, checked his environmental monitors for the 100th time. "By the void," he muttered, "how do they stand this gravity?" His 4-member team had been sent to Earth to conduct a detailed assessment of human living conditions. Their guide, a cheerful human park ranger named Bob, wore nothing but a light green uniform and a hat. "Shall we begin the tour?" Bob asked, apparently comfortable in the crushing gravity and oxygen-rich atmosphere that made the aliens' suits work overtime to protect them. Their first stop was Central Park. As they walked, a small furry creature with sharp teeth, a squirrel, Bob called it, scampered past. The entire alien team jumped back in terror. "Is that one of your predator species?" Adams asked, his voice shaking. Bob laughed. No. Those are just park residents. Completely harmless, though they might steal your snacks if you're not careful." The team's biologist, marking down notes with trembling hands, whispered, "They let predators roam freely in their recreation areas." As they continued their tour, things only got more terrifying. They witnessed children, Chichel Duran, planning on metal structures high above the ground, swinging and sliding with no safety equipment. "Shouldn't they be in protective bubbles?" asked the team's safety expert. "Oh, they're fine," Bob said. "Kids bounce back from falls pretty easily." Builds character. The day continued with more shocking revelations. They visited a local weather station, where meteorologist Lisa showed them radar images of approaching storms. "See this system?" She pointed to a massive swirling pattern. "That's a Category 3 hurricane heading up the coast. Nothing too serious, but we've issued some mild warnings." Mild warnings. Adams checked his translator for errors. "For a planetary-scale storm system." "Well, yeah," Lisa shrugged. "It's not like it's tornado season or anything." The evaluation team learned that humans not only survived these tornadoes, violent wind formations that could lift buildings, but some of them chased these storms for fun and scientific research. Their next stop was even more disturbing. A construction site for a new skyscraper. Workers walked on steel beams hundreds of meters in the air, protected by nothing but thin ropes and small harnesses. The aliens watched in horror as welders casually handled temperatures that could melt metal. "Don't worry," the site foreman assured them, seeing their distress. "We haven't had an accident in months." The day's final stop was a local restaurant. The team watched through their helmet visors as humans casually consumed substances that their scanners identified as chemical irritants. "These are called hot peppers," Bob explained, eating one whole. "Adds a nice kick to the food." "You willingly eat pain-inducing substances?" the team's medical officer asked incredulously. "Sure. Wait until you hear about our spicy food competitions." Back in their shuttle that evening, Adams compiled his report with shaking appendages. How could he explain this to the council? These humans didn't just survive in conditions that would kill most species, they seemed to enjoy them. His report included several disturbing observations. Humans regularly exposed themselves to extreme temperature variations for fun, swimming in cold water, sitting in steam rooms. They built massive cities in areas prone to earthquakes. Their young played games involving throwing themselves at each other at high speeds, sports. They kept predator species as pets. They considered oxygen, a corrosive gas, essential for life. As Adams finished his report, he looked out the shuttle window. A group of humans was jogging, voluntarily running in the crushing gravity, as storm clouds gathered overhead. Recommendation to the council. He spoke into his recorder. "Do not, under any circumstances, underestimate these humans. They don't just inhabit a death world. They've mastered it. And now they're looking to the stars." Outside, the joggers picked up their pace as rain began to fall. laughing as lightning lit up the sky. The emergency council session stretched into its fourth hour. The massive chamber, usually a model of order and dignity, had devolved into chaos. Representatives from 3,000 species argued, their voices mixing into a storm of clicks, whistles, and translated shouts. "They must be contained," shouted the delegate from a low-gravity world. "These humans are too dangerous to allow free movement through the galaxy." First Speaker James banged his gravity gavel, restoring temporary quiet. "We are here to discuss the proposal to quarantine Earth and its solar system. Ambassador Reed has requested the right to respond." The human ambassador walked to the center platform, his movements eerily smooth in the chamber's low gravity. Unlike the previous sessions, he wasn't smiling today. "Honorable Council," Reed began, "before you vote on this quarantine, there's something you should know." He paused, looking around the chamber. "It's too late." The translator struggled to convey all the gasps and exclamations that followed. "What do you mean, too late?" Second Speaker Wilson demanded. Reed pulled out what humans called a tablet computer, a device that worked perfectly despite the electromagnetic interference that plagued most alien technology. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared above the platform. "This," he said, "is Mars, our closest planetary neighbor. What you're seeing is live footage." The council members stared at the red planet's surface. There, scattered across the landscape, were distinctive dome structures. But what shocked them most were the green patches visible even from orbit. "That's impossible," the council's chief scientist declared. "Mars is a dead world. Nothing can grow there." "Nothing could grow there," Reed corrected. "We've been terraforming Mars for the past decade. Those green patches are our first successful lichen colonies. In another 20 years, humans will be able to walk on the surface with minimal protection." The chamber erupted again. First Speaker James raised all four of his hands for silence. "You're telling us you've already started colonizing other worlds." "Started?" Reed smiled for the first time that day. "We have 3 permanent bases on Mars, a research station on Venus's upper atmosphere, mining operations on 2 asteroids, and a preliminary base being constructed on Europa." The Council's security chief, a usually stoic being, turned pale. "How did we miss this?" "You were looking for signs of your kind of space colonization," Reed explained. "Clean, safe, careful expansion to garden worlds. We went straight for the places you considered uninhabitable." He changed the hologram to show a series of blueprints. "These are our colony ship designs. The first fleet is already under construction. We estimate they'll be ready for launch within 6 months." "But where will you go?" asked a representative from the Galactic Core. "All habitable worlds within reasonable distance are already claimed." Reed's smile widened. "Oh, we're not interested in your habitable worlds. We've identified 50 planets you've classified as death worlds. Perfect places for human colonization." The security chief fainted. "You can't be serious," First Speaker James said. "Those worlds have gravity twice Earth's normal level, or toxic atmospheres, or extreme temperature variations." "Exactly," Reed nodded. "Perfect training environments for our people. Some are even easier than Earth in certain ways. Only twice Earth's gravity. Our colonists will barely notice." The council members looked at each other in growing horror as they realized the implications. Humanity wasn't just leaving their death world. They were seeking out more of them. "Ambassador Reed," First Speaker James said carefully, "what exactly does humanity want from the Galactic Council?" "Want? Nothing really. We're just being polite by informing you of our plans." Reed packed up his tablet. "Though we would appreciate it if you updated your navigational databases to include radiation warnings and solar storm predictions. Some of our civilian ship sensors aren't properly calibrated for deep space yet." As Reed walked out of the chamber, the council realized a terrible truth. They had never needed to vote on containing humanity. You couldn't contain a species that looked at the most hostile environments in the galaxy and saw opportunity. "One more thing," Reed said at the door. Those colony ships I mentioned. We finished them yesterday. The first fleet launches next week. We just wanted to give you a heads up. The council chamber had never been so quiet. The Galactic Council's observation deck was packed with representatives from every major spacefaring civilization. They had gathered to witness humanity's first official presentation of their new starship technology. The massive viewing windows looked out over a testing area deep in neutral space. "The human vessel is approaching," announced the deck's AI system. The ship that dropped out of faster-than-light travel wasn't the sleek, elegant design most species preferred. Instead, it looked like a massive floating fortress. Thick armor plates covered its hull, and multiple redundant systems were visible even from the outside. Captain Miller's voice came through the communication system. "This is the Earth ship Everest, ready to begin demonstration." First Speaker James leaned forward in his hover chair. "Captain Miller, your ship appears to be heavily armored." "Standard human construction," Miller replied cheerfully. "Though we did add extra reinforcement for deep space conditions." The council's chief engineer raised all three of his eyebrows. "Extra reinforcement? Your hull is thick enough to survive a direct asteroid impact." "Exactly," Miller said. "That's today's first demonstration." Before anyone could protest, the Everest accelerated toward a small asteroid that had been placed in the testing area. Instead of avoiding it, the ship smashed straight through the space rock, emerging from the other side with barely a scratch. The observation deck erupted in shocked exclamations. "Why would you?" the chief engineer started. "Sometimes it's faster to go through obstacles than around them," Miller explained. Now for our second demonstration. The Everest flew directly into a nearby star's corona, an area of intense heat and radiation that would melt most ships instantly. The council members watched in horror as the ship's sensors continued to transmit. "Current external temperature is about 2 million degrees Celsius, Miller reported casually. "Our air conditioning is handling it fine. Anyone want some coffee? Our break room is still at a comfortable 22 degrees. "Impossible," shouted several scientists at once. The Everest emerged from the corona glowing slightly red but otherwise undamaged. "We found this is a great way to recharge our backup solar batteries," Miller added. For the next hour, the human ship demonstrated maneuvers that violated most of the Council's safety protocols. They flew through radiation clouds, skimmed gas giant atmospheres, and at one point, used a black hole's gravity for what Miller called a fun little slingshot effect. And now, Miller announced, the main event. The Everest's engines began to glow with a strange light. The Council's sensors screamed warnings as space itself seemed to bend. "What are they doing?" First Speaker James demanded. "Implementing our new faster-than-light drive," Miller replied. "We call it the origami drive, because it folds space like paper." The ship vanished in a flash of light. 3 seconds later, it reappeared on the other side of the solar system. 7 light-years in 3 seconds, Miller reported. "Not our best time, but not bad for a public demonstration." The Council's physics experts were frantically checking their calculations. "This violates at least 6 laws of physics," one shouted. "Oh, those laws," Miller chuckled. "We found they're more like guidelines, really. Engineering team lead Parker says physics is more flexible than most people think. You just have to ask nicely." As the demonstration concluded, First Speaker James turned to his fellow council members. "I think we need to revise our understanding of what's possible in spacecraft design." "One more thing," Miller added. "This is just our basic civilian model. Would you like to see what our military ships can do?" "No," the entire council shouted in unison. As the Everest prepared to return to Earth, Miller sent one final message. "By the way, we're starting mass production next week. These ships will be standard issue for our colonization fleets. Just thought you'd want to know." The council members looked at each other in silence. The galaxy had always operated on certain rules about what was possible and what wasn't. The humans had just broken most of them before lunch. And somewhere in the distance, humanity's colony ships were being built, each one ready to carry these impossible vessels to the stars. The launch day arrived with little warning. The Council's observation stations detected the first ships rising from Earth's surface just as the planet's sun began to rise over North America. No one expected what happened next. They kept coming. Not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands of ships. "This is Colony Fleet Command." A calm human voice transmitted across all frequencies. "Beginning Operation New Horizon. All ships, check in." The Council's emergency session was interrupted by the Chief Traffic Controller bursting into the chamber. "The humans, they're everywhere. 5,000 ships have already left Earth orbit, and more are launching every minute." First Speaker James activated the main display. The space around Earth looked like a swarm of metal bees leaving their hive. Each ship was loaded with supplies, terraforming equipment, and eager colonists. "Get me Ambassador Reed immediately," James ordered. Reed's face appeared on the screen. He was standing on what appeared to be a launch control center, surrounded by bustling humans tracking the departing ships. "Ah, good morning, Council," Reed smiled. "I assume you're calling about our colony ships." "Ambassador," James tried to keep his voice steady, "your species promised to coordinate your expansion with the Council." "This is not coordination." "Oh, we are coordinating," Reed replied. "We're just coordinating with ourselves. Very efficiently, I might add. Would you like to see our destination list?" Without waiting for an answer, Reed sent a file to the Council's systems. When it opened, several Council members fainted. "These are all Deathworlds," Second Speaker Wilson exclaimed. "Class 10 or higher." "Exactly," Reed nodded. "Perfect new homes for our people." Some highlights. Fleet Group Alpha is heading to the methane ice world HG 427. Fleet Beta chose that lovely high-gravity planet in the Orion sector, the one with the acid rain. Fleet Gamma is particularly ambitious. They're aiming for the volcanic system you marked as absolutely uninhabitable in your databases. The Council watched in horror as the massive fleet split into organized groups, each heading toward worlds that no sane species would approach. But the conditions. The Council's safety director stuttered. "Oh, we've prepared for everything," Reed assured them. "Here, let me patch you through to one of our colony ships." The screen split to show the bridge of a massive vessel. The captain, a woman wearing what looked like a simple uniform, was drinking coffee while checking her instruments. "This is Colony Ship Pioneer," she reported. "We're heading to HD 427. Just passed through that radiation storm you warned us about. Makes for some nice views through the windows. The kids in the education deck are using it for their science lessons." "Kids?" Several Council members shouted at once. "Of course," the captain smiled. "Can't start a colony without families. Speaking of which, my daughter's class is having their daily low-gravity gymnastics session. Want to see?" "No," the Council members shouted in unison. Back in the Launch Control Center, Reed was reviewing more data. "Oh, interesting update. Fleet Delta just found a planet you hadn't classified yet. Gravity 3 times Earth normal. Temperature ranges from -100 to +200 Celsius. They're calling dibs on it. Say it looks cozy." First Speaker James slumped in his chair. "How many worlds do you plan to colonize?" "All of them," Reed replied simply. "Well, all the ones you consider uninhabitable. We're leaving the nice, boring worlds for everyone else. Seems only fair." The display showed more ships leaving Earth orbit. Each was packed with humans eager to face challenges that would terrify most species. "One last thing," Reed added. "We're already getting requests from some of your younger species. Apparently, they want to learn our survival techniques. We're thinking of starting an exchange program. Would the Council be interested in officially sponsoring it?" The Council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't just expanding. They were going to change the very definition of what was possible. Outside Earth's orbit, the colony fleets continued their departure, each ship carrying humans who looked at the most dangerous places in the galaxy and saw not death, but opportunity. The Exodus had begun. 1 year after the Great Exodus began, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. The formerly pristine hall now featured reinforced gravity platforms and atmosphere-controlled sections, modifications made to accommodate the growing number of human visitors and their new alien students. Ambassador Reed stood at the central platform, presenting humanity's latest project. The chamber was more crowded than ever, with representatives from every spacefaring species eager to hear the latest human innovation. Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all designations, Reed began. I'm pleased to report on humanity's first year of expansion. The holographic display activated, showing a map of the galaxy with hundreds of glowing points marking human colonies. In just 12 months, we've established successful colonies on 57 previously uninhabitable worlds, Reed announced. But that's not why I'm here today. He pressed a button, and the display zoomed in on one particular colony. The council members leaned forward, then gasped collectively. The surface of what had been a toxic, high-gravity Deathworld now showed signs of transformation. Green patches spread across the landscape, while massive atmospheric processors cleaned the poisonous air. We call it the Deathworld Reclamation Project, Reed explained. Turns out, the skills we developed surviving Earth work pretty well for fixing up other dangerous planets. First speaker James, who had finally gotten used to human surprises, asked carefully, "What exactly are you proposing?" "Simple," Reed smiled. "We want to help other species colonize the worlds they previously thought impossible. We've already received applications from 300,000 volunteers from various species who want to train with us." The display showed images of alien beings working alongside humans, learning to operate in high gravity, handle extreme temperatures, and survive conditions their species had evolved to fear. The first graduating class of what we call Deathworld Adaptation Training completed their courses last week. Reed continued, "Would you like to meet them?" A group of aliens entered the chamber, walking with the confident stride usually seen only in humans. They wore modified versions of human environmental suits, but moved as if the crushing gravity was natural. "These graduates," Reed said proudly, "can now survive on planets their species previously considered deadly. They're already planning their own colonies." The council members watched in amazement as one of the graduates, from a traditionally fragile species, casually lifted a heavy equipment pack that would have crushed their unmodified kin. "But that's not all," Reed continued. "Our scientists have developed new terraforming technologies. We can now begin transforming death worlds into what you'd consider habitable planets, though personally, we think that takes some of the fun out of it." First speaker James raised his hand. "Ambassador Reed, are you saying humans want to help make the galaxy more accessible to everyone?" "Exactly," Reed nodded. "Though we prefer to think of it as teaching the galaxy to be more like us. After all, why should good planets go to waste just because they're a little challenging?" The display showed more images, mixed species crews on exploration vessels, alien children playing in high-gravity environments while wearing safety gear, and scientists from a dozen worlds working together to unlock more of humanity's survival secrets. "The galaxy thought we were crazy for living on Earth," Reed concluded. "Now they're lining up to learn our ways. Funny how things work out, isn't it?" As if to emphasize his point, an alert sounded showing another human colony ship successfully landing on a world with regular meteor showers. The colonists had already started building underground cities, treating the constant impacts as nothing more than an interesting backdrop to their daily lives. First speaker James looked around the chamber at his fellow council members. Some were still shocked, others excited, but all understood. The galaxy had changed forever. The humans hadn't just survived their death world. They'd turned their greatest challenge into their greatest strength. "I suppose," James said finally, "we should update our planetary classification system. The term death world seems outdated." "Oh, we have a suggestion for that too," Reed smiled. "We prefer to call them opportunity worlds. Outside the council chamber, another fleet of ships lifted off from Earth, carrying both humans and their alien students toward worlds that had once been forbidden. The age of limitations was over. The age of human innovation had begun.